Hi guys, thank you for joining me today. I had this whole thing lined up and I recorded it and then it got erased. So we're doing it again and hopefully it'll just be good this time as it was the last time and more relaxed because I've already been all the way through it. So that's great. If you want to email me, that's in the description box below. If you want to support the channel or subscribe or donate to the podcast or anything like that, all of that information is in the description box below. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do that so that you get notifications when new videos come out. I love you, I appreciate you, thank you for being here. So I wanted to talk about anxiety in children for a couple of reasons. One is that I was an anxious child. And if you've read the book, then you've read a little bit about that experience and what that was like for me. Two is that I have an anxious child. So now being on the other side of it and trying to parent it, I do try to be aware of him, but I also don't want to enable him. And the third reason is just that I think that anxiety in children is becoming more prevalent and parents are not sure how to deal with it. And it's not that I think that there's a right or a wrong way, but I think that there are tools out there, there are behaviors that can set them up for success or set them up for failure, and we always want to set them up for success. So anxiety in children looks totally different than it does in adults. Not that it looks the same in adults from person to person, but in children it won't normally be like it is for me as an adult, where I'm pacing and I'm hyperventilating and I'm able to express and to articulate that this is what's happening to me. A lot of times children don't actually know what's wrong or what's going on, and they don't know to call it anxiety. So physical symptoms can be things like sleep disturbances. Stomach ache is one of the biggest ones, and there's actually an article that I keep seeing, it's making the rounds on Facebook, about kids when they have a stomach ache. Check that out, okay? Have a talk with them. A lot of times when a child is anxious, they will say, "Mommy, I have a tummy ache." And it's really anxiety, and they just don't know how to vocalize that. They may get tense. If you see them clenching fists or their body get really tense and tight in a situation or talking about a certain subject, they may get sweaty or shaky if they're in a situation that's uncomfortable. And again, just you know your child. Be aware of them, try to be aware of their energy. I can normally tell with my son when he is feeling anxious or nervous, because he does that. He gets the shaky, the sweaty, he gets very tense. There are emotional symptoms as well. They may cry a lot, and if that's odd for them and they're doing it a lot lately, then it could be that there's a situation going on that they don't know how to tell you about. They may be harsh on themselves when they make mistakes. My son is like this, afraid of making mistakes. I didn't realize this. My son did this thing. He doesn't do it as much now, but he used to do this thing where something would happen. There'd be an accident. He would spill Gatorade on the floor or whatever. And I'm super chill about stuff like that. Especially we're in an apartment, and if you're in the apartment business, just cover your ears right now, but this is not my carpet and I really don't care. I'm not gonna like blow a gasket because Gatorade got spilled on the carpet that I don't own, that they're gonna replace anyway and we paid a deposit for. Like, I do not care. Totally don't care, totally fine. And he knows that about me. Like, he knows it's not something that I'm gonna get upset about. The only rule for me with that is the only wrong thing you can do is to do nothing. You can come get mommy, you can go get a towel, you can go get daddy, you can get some paper towels, you can try to clean it up yourself. Like, as long as you are in action in that situation, you're doing the right thing. Beyond that, I don't care, and I don't get mad about that stuff. But even knowing that, and even knowing that, like, mommy doesn't get mad, it's fine, and it was an accident, and it's just a mistake, he would flinch a little bit talking to me about it, or when he was going to clean it up, and it hurt my feelings, it hurt my heart, because I thought, what is going on with you? Like, mommy does not rage, I don't throw things, I don't hit you, we don't spank in this house. Whatever you think about that is your business. But I didn't understand, and I was taking it so personally that he would, sort of physically jerk back, and come to find out, actually speaking to a doctor, that is anxiety in him. It's not really that he thought that I was going to physically connect with him. It's that he is hard on himself and he expects me to be hard on him. And the hardest part of that to hear and understand for me as a mom is that he thinks he deserves it. He has a tendency to be negative with himself if he messes up at something. He's such a perfectionist. He's very hard on himself. The bar is very high for him in his mind. So if he makes a mistake, if he's not good at something right off the bat, he beats himself up. And so he sort of expects other people to do that. He expects me to do that, which I don't, and I never would. But we've had lots of talks about it. Now that I know that that's anxiety, then I know sort of how to help him with that, to affirm him in that. And but look for things like that, whether that's how your child is and always has been, or if it's a new development, it is oftentimes linked to anxiety. Behavioral changes, if they suddenly won't go to school, if they used to like going to school and now you have to drag them there. They're probably anxious about something. There may be a situation that they don't want to tell you about, their bullies or things like that. Please be very aware of those things. Check on your kids, if they make a lot of what if statements. I did this a lot in my mind as a kid. I wrote about this in the book as well. A lot of what if statements, a lot of worst case scenario. What if I fall off a cliff? What if I'm climbing this tree and it's super fun? What if I fall and I hit my head and die? I mean, it's terrible, but it does happen, and that's anxiety. That's a part of anxiety. If your child starts having meltdowns out of the blue, if they are, say, an older child, so they're out of the toddler years and it's not a terrible 2s, terrible 3s situation, and they melt all the way down about something to where they're sort of inconsolable, that may be anxiety. If they constantly seek approval from the adults in their life, so if it could be you, it could be a teacher, somebody that they admire and look up to, and they're constantly seeking approval. If they are the kind of kid that instead of hanging out with other kids, they sort of stand underneath the teacher, the parent, the leader in the room. A lot of times that people-pleasing, that need for validation is an anxiety thing. I have that too. I still have that. I'm trying to get better about that, but I do still have that. Oh, and I had this mug out for a reason. I totally forgot to talk about it in the beginning, but this is a mug that my son gave me. It's Wonder Woman, who we look just alike. Yeah? No? Maybe? I love Wonder Woman. And on the other side of the mug, it says, strongest woman alive. And I'm going to do it right now. I can't even tell you how many times I've cried over this mug. It's just the sweetest, most wonderful gift. And it lets me know that that's how he sees me. And that's part of why I do what I do. Because he has seen me have full-on panic attacks. And then he's seen me keep going. And that's what we have to do, right? So there's that. So we talked a little about ways that anxiety can manifest in your child. So now I want to talk a little bit about things that you can do as a parent to help that. I think a lot of us think that we're helping, and we're using words and behaviors, myself included, that instead of validating the child, we're validating the anxiety. Does that make sense? Instead of allowing them to be uncomfortable and learn that they can handle being uncomfortable, that they can cope with it, they can overcome it, we try to remove the uncomfortable thing for them. We try to modify their daily routine. The intentions are good. I keep losing my words, guys. The intentions are good there. With every parent. I don't believe any parent wants to screw up their kid. You want to do right by them. But if you're modifying and sort of moving the obstacles out of the way so that they won't feel anxious about them, that leads to them being reliant on somebody removing the obstacles. It does not lead to a conqueror mentality, which is what I want my kids to have, especially in this day and age. And it does not lead to self-confidence, and it does feed into the anxiety, because almost in a way you're telling them, yes, that's something that you should be afraid of, and yes, that's something that you can't handle, let me handle it for you. And I have been so guilty of this, and I thought that I was doing the right thing, and I went to the ADAA conference in Chicago, and I was so fortunate to listen to a talk by a couple of people who do research on this at Yale. And they have developed a program called the SPACE program, and I think this is a revolutionary program. It's going to change a lot in a positive way, and I don't know how much about it I can really talk about here, but they treat the parents. They don't ever actually see the kids. They treat the parents, and in treating the parents and teaching parents what words to use, what behaviors to use in response to anxiety, they end up curing the kids' anxiety. Isn't that amazing? So I want you to know, if you're a mom or a dad and you have a kid who has anxiety, you are in so much control. You have the power to help your child grow out of this, to learn from it, to conquer it, okay? Depending on the words that you say and the actions that you take when you're in this situation. And the example that I wrote down for myself here is that if your child was running a race, and this has happened to me, my son likes to run, he did a mile race one time, and he has a metabolic disorder that causes a lot of lactic acid buildup. So things like running starts to burn in him very quickly, and it's painful. And I'm gonna cry, you guys. He was like 6 years old, maybe 6 or 7, and started off on this race, and he's going, and he's really wanting, he's all heart, guys, he's all heart, and he's just really wanting to get there and get to the end. And I was running beside him, just, for supporting and cheering him on. And he gets to the halfway point, he's the first one there, and he's got to turn around now. He's gone half a mile, and he's got to turn around and go all the way back, and he wanted to do it so bad. I'm telling you, he's such a warrior, this kid. He's running back, he's starting to slow down, and he's telling me, I'm on the sidelines and I'm running at his pace, and I'm screaming at him that he can do this, you've got this. And he's starting to tell me, Mommy, it hurts. My legs are burning. And I am this. I am a big Care Bear heart drama llama sometimes, and the only thing that I want to do in that moment is pick him up and carry him to the finish line myself. I am that mom. I want to fix it. I don't want you to hurt. I can't stand seeing you in pain. What can I do to fix that for you? It's not good. It's not always good. I don't want to raise a child who's dependent on his mommy, okay? Especially when he's naturally got so much heart. So I resisted the urge to grab him and just run with him under my arm to the finish line, and I stayed on the sidelines, and I just started coaching him. I just started thinking of every good thing that I could say to him. I spoke against that fear. I spoke directly to that warrior spirit that I know that lives within him. I just told him how fast he was, how brave he is, how courageous he is, that he's winning. He's the first one. You don't look back. You're winning. And before we both knew it, he was coming across the finish line. Sorry. I did not expect to get emotional about this, but if I had picked him up, I would have felt better. I would have felt like he's safe and he's okay and he's not hurting, and I did the thing that I needed to do as a mom by fixing that for him. But he would have felt worse. Confidence-wise, growth-wise, comfort zone-wise, and anxiety-wise, he would have lost all the things that he gained by being able to come across that finish line for himself. He won that race. First place, got a medal. And his legs were burning, and he was a little bit sick the next day, but it was so worth it. So worth it. So I think about that day a lot when I think about how to treat his anxiety and his night terrors. The thing that I want to do is to take away the thing that hurts. Like that, as a mom, is what I always want to do. But it's the wrong thing to do. Because then he won't ever learn how to deal with things that are uncomfortable or that hurt. I have to let him go through those things, and I have to coach him, and I have to show him we go through tough things and we survive them. We live through them. We live to fight another day. So the SPACE program teaches parents about participating versus modifying. So it's okay to answer children's questions when they're anxious about something, and maybe having information eases that anxiety. That's good. Answering questions is good. Performing routine checks on them at night, if nighttime is when their anxiety presents itself, that's okay, that's good. That's participating and letting them know that you are here. They're not by themselves in this. That's very good. Modifying would be something like changing the daily routine, driving a different way because there's something scary on that road, or there's something about that road that makes them freak out. Buying them a whole different dinner than everybody else at the table because there's something about what you were eating that was giving them anxiety. That's the wrong thing to do, because you're making exceptions. You're pulling the obstacles out of the path. You are carrying them to the finish line. You're going to end up, if you keep with that behavior, you will, as a parent, end up with a child who is incapable of doing for themselves. And I know that nobody wants that, and I'm not criticizing. I didn't know this, so I'm just telling you so that you'll know it as well. And I know that you never want to see them uncomfortable or hurting or crying. I know that. And it's difficult to let them do that sometimes, but it is necessary. Accommodating behaviors can lead to increased anxiety. You want to increase your support, but decrease your accommodation. Do not invalidate your child. I remember this from my childhood. I would say, this thing is very scary. And somebody would say, no, it's not. I would say, this thing is very painful. And they would say, no, it isn't. When you do that, when you say that, you completely invalidate your child's experience, and their perception is their reality, and you just told them that what is real for them is not real. That doesn't fix anything. You do want to affirm them. So if they are in something that's scary or painful, say something like, I see that this is hard for you, and I'm confident that you can handle it. Because what you think about them will be what they think about them. There's a quote that I love, because of course I do, I love quotes. There's a quote that I love that says, how you speak to your child becomes their inner voice. And I think that we as parents don't realize how true that is sometimes until it's too late, until our kids are older and we're like, gosh, that sounds terrible, it sounds just like me. So speak life into them, speak courage into them, but let them do the hard things themselves. Now, there are certain things, we talked about the behaviors and the things, if they're scared of something at school, if there's a situation that is making it where they're having total meltdowns, or they're just refusing to go to class, or they're not hanging out with their friends anymore, do investigate that, do check that out. Of course, that's part of responsibility as a parent, and you want to make sure that there's nothing really severe going on. But as much as you can help it, allow them to stumble, allow them to get hurt, allow them to have to work for it and fight for it, because when you do that, it means so much more to them. And just like with adults, when kids push outside of their comfort zones, their fears dissipate. They learn that that line that they had drawn for themselves was imaginary, and there's a whole other world out there. They learn that they are stronger than they thought, braver than they thought, much more capable than maybe they originally believed. And when they have that knowledge, I'm getting goosebumps, guys, when they have that knowledge, when they see it to be true for themselves because they just went through it, the anxiety will ease up. Anxiety is fear, and it's fear that's not real. And in kids, it's also fear that's not real. So you want them to be able to find out for themselves that it's not real and that they can do this, because that's setting them up for success in life. So I feel like I have rambled on for a really long time. Thank you for listening. If you have a kid who has anxiety and you have coping strategies, if you have things that work for you guys, let me know. I didn't go over any of the things that I would normally talk about, the magnesium and things like that, because I feel like I've covered it so much in the podcast and in other videos. Tell me if you are an accommodator or a modifier in the comments if you want to. If you got something good from this, if you found value in it, please let me know that as well. You can email me at fearitselfpodcast@yahoo.com, or just put comments in the comments section below. Live in courage. Let your kids live in courage. I love you. Bye.